I'm really into bridging like the sacred and the profane. Like I think it would just be epic for like a DJ to be an ordained priestess at a nightclub. I think that it would be epic if celebrities were aware of this work and so their resonance would actually push out to it. Like that's me
Yep.
going like
Yes.
big dreamer just because I go, okay, and you'll agree with this of like trying to find ceremony in every moment. Like
Yes.
even if I'm at the gas station, you know,
Yes.
it sounds so silly, but like
Yes.
that's a lot of what our life is.
There is no one way to priestess. In this modern world, the professional priestess isn't just reclaiming her power. She's owning her right to be seen, supported, and supremely resourced. Money, visibility, the team, devotion, she gets to have it all because her work is the work. And the world is catching up, learning that her presence is priceless. Because when she thrives, the medicine multiplies. I'm your host, Lindsay Schroeder, and I'll be connecting you with sacred alchemists at the forefront of the feminine revolution. The modern priestess is building her empire through her essence. This is the space for those ready to return to the temple, the one that lives deep within. Azriel, I'm so excited to have this conversation. There are so many pieces of not only my work, but like who I am and my experiences in life, and not just the profound, magical, wonderful, mystical gifts, but the difficulties and the hardships and the heaviness and the overwhelm and the truly the walking through the fire, the walking through broken glass, the like barreling through it that we have so different, but so in common. And every time we've connected or even responded to each other's stuff or had full conversations, there's a part of me that is seen and felt and held in sisterhood in a way that I rarely ever feel with anyone else. So I'm so excited to give you this spotlight, hear more about you and your work and the beautiful things that you're birthing right now. And all of our priestess alignment. So thank you for being here. Welcome. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. And it
Mm,
is good to connect with someone who understands the depths and also understands the whimsy.
yeah. And like can have, I think that's such a particular lived skill set to like be able to have the whimsy in the shit that like very similar to the whole Alice in Wonderland, which I know we both very much connect with, that like, hey, I might be being attacked by the Jabberwocky right now and I truly might die, but like I'm gonna make a little joke and I'm gonna like have my little Humpty Dumpty guys and I'm gonna like sing a little song with these flowers and like I am gonna truly ride the waves and I get to be me throughout that, regardless if it's like, fuck, that's trauma, or like, oh, I'm really excited having a picnic over here. We both really hold that, like, well, it's all ups and downs anyway, so I might as well like have a good time.
Seriously. And I think there's an art of I'm really down right now, so I'm gonna be really down, and I'm really up right now, so I'm gonna be really up.
Yeah. Oh, I want to talk about especially with the down. I think the majority of people with just general life or even any like self-reflection or spiritual journey really do understand how to like really enjoy and savor the moment and be present in the happiness. But a lot of times when you do drop down and not just like, oh, something went wrong, I spilled coffee on me, but like the whole when it rains, it pours. And especially as priestesses, we know that like when we do align with that vibration down there, a lot of it inundates in and we're just like flooded with a lot of things, very much like the eclipse portals, like
Right.
the dark night of the soul, like the deep transformation, the like, oh, the caterpillar doesn't like gently grow part of it turns into fucking goo and nothingness and is like, what am I? Where am I? Who am I? What's going on? And then all of a sudden is a butterfly. And so I want to start in that space. I think that's a great place for us to start about what does it mean to be in the depths and not just, oh, I'm replaying the story and oh, woe is me, but what does it mean to do the work to sometimes regulate and then bring that difficulty back in and other times move in ceremony and move in ritual and let that hurt and anger and frustration and grief express itself just like we would let joy and euphoria and magic and movement express itself openly, fluidly, expansively.
Yeah, I feel like for me, since a lot of the way that I priestess is movement as well
Mhm.
as art forms, that I have found, and for a while, this is actually something I was scared to talk about how much ecstasy I've been able to find in grief.
Yeah.
And going, are people gonna think I'm bypassing? Which, like, I don't think it's possible for me to bypass with, but
Look, I've tried, it didn't work.
yeah, I'm like, it's all here. And I think part of it is when we can consciously detach from the story and allow ourselves to
Mhm.
just be in the experience. Because if something's really, really painful, it's also asking for presence.
Yes.
A lot of times we'll kind of skip through this phase. One thing that I've learned is when there's pain, it's asking for clarity, it's asking for presence. It's not necessarily asking for pleasure immediately. So if something's really, really heavy, something's really, really difficult, how can I get as present as possible with that current thing? Because then you start to see, like, all right, here's that imprint from here and from here and from here. But you're centered. So I
Yeah.
think a lot of times what we fear is losing our center and kind of
Mm.
hyper extending. And a lot of times
Yeah.
I talk about this stuff very somatically, but you can kind of feel it. Like if someone were, your feet were kind of close together and someone pushed you, you're going to fall over. If you allow your feet to expand hip width apart and ground down, someone pushes you, there's a little teeter, but you can come
Mhm.
back to yourself.
Yeah.
So I also think that everyone's experience of hardship is their experience. I will never understand exactly what has happened in your psyche, in your soul, in your body. And I think part of priestessing is being able to honor that
Yeah.
and also asking the right questions on what does this person actually need right now.
Mhm.
And I think that's what really sets apart priestessing from maybe some of these other modalities that we see in the spiritual space of, the modern day priestess to me is meeting someone in the moment, every moment.
And a lot of times helping them to not bypass, to not rush, to not try and fix, to really be with. And I know when you're saying that and I'm bobbleheading, like, yeah, 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 that we deeply understand what that means. And for the majority of priestesses and practitioners who are listening to this, they're like, yes, I get that. But for someone who is spiritually curious, stepping into this is like, "Oh my god, I wanna hear the behind the scenes of these 2 priestesses talking." Can we get into the, like, specificity and the detail of what that means to be, like, in a session with us? Say it's a client of yours or you're in a ceremony, and we're definitely gonna touch on, like, the non-medicine, non-psychedelic, like, psychedelic experience with you for sure. I'm so excited for that. But say we're in a session, say we're in a ceremony, and this client is going through big grief and they're having that natural like I want to complete the loop, I want to move through it, I want to get over it, I want it to stop affecting me, I want to be done with it, and they are coming to it with like I want to do the work to do that, but it is very much that like destination focus. Can
Mhm.
you talk us through a little bit of what that conversation or what that movement practice or what that navigation is in that container while you're guiding, where we're not telling them what to do, but we're holding the space and guiding and supporting so that they can really understand and get to the place that you're describing of being present with it, not just to change it, but just to be with it and hear it and understand it and let it unfold.
Yeah. And I'll probably speak from the lens of a lot of the people I work with have like really, really deep sexual trauma. That's just kind of always been my specialty.
Yeah,
And
the same.
so with that trauma, I also understand we have to get their brain something to chew on.
Mm,
Because I'm going, I already know you don't feel safe in your body. That's why we're up here right now. So a lot of times it's actually walking them through. Can you actually imagine what that experience was like for that 3-year-old version of you? Can we, and it's, to me, I always want to pull it back to, can we give your brain something to chew on to understand that, like, this shame is not yours to hold. What I find, especially with grief, when people are like, "I wanna get out of it. I wanna get out of it. I
Yeah.
have" they're high achieving, as am I, and so there's this, like, layer of shame over the grief of, "It shouldn't hurt this bad, and it shouldn't feel this
Mhm.
bad, and I can't slow down," and so I'm even thinking, can I bring forth texture sensations? Can they tell
Mm.
me what they're actually feeling in their body? Like, how much can I just allow them to be hyper aware? And also going there are points where I go, "Okay, we've been in something really heavy right now. Can I bring forth the frequency of miracles?"
Mm.
And almost having them immerse themselves so it's almost like there are 2 different frequencies being able to talk to them, and you can see the
Yeah.
lightness that comes, and I do think this is a skill set that has been, like, a game changer for me, specifically from, like, a somatic perspective of, can I allow them to open up their mind to something that was, like, so delicious and so enjoyable, and bring those 2 experiences together to actually allow this big one to integrate? Because to me, when we're in, like, that deep grief, like, this is like a big T trauma coming up.
Yeah.
So it's honoring. I think that's when people are like, "There's so much shame," it's healed by honor. So, I see you.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
witness you. I'm here with you. And I think also giving them permission. How do you want to move your body? Do you want to sit here and sway? Do you want to get up and move big? Is there even a certain song that you would like right now? And usually
Mm.
my intuition kind of, you're
Yeah.
usually pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think being in session, it's also knowing, when do I need to actually pull them out of this?
Yeah.
Just a little bit,
So I
not in a
wanna
way that makes them change.
I definitely wanna go to that moment because that is that, like, fine line, that, like, very nuanced moment of for me, I find once they start going to the story versus the sensation, where, like, "Oh, I'm trying to validate why it feels so heavy or why it feels so big, why it feels so much." So I'm going back to the story of why I feel that instead of being present with the feeling of it, like you're saying, the textures and really asking like, okay, is there tightness? Is there heaviness? Is there agony? Is there tension? Versus describing the story of the feeling. And I think that separation in priestess work is one of the first steps for us because people aren't taught how to feel their fucking feelings. We're taught how to
Right.
tell stories about feelings, how to replay story based memories and like validate our feelings. And especially as womb holders, the majority of our upbringing is about like, oh, you have to like validate who and what you are and what you feel and how you express just to like kind of take up some room. Otherwise, you'll get fully like consumed by society and perspective. So I'm
Yeah.
curious if that's similar for you in those moments of like, okay, now I'm going to help you shift and help you move out of that versus the being very present and that moment of like, I am looking at you, not just with these 2 eyes, but with all 3 of my eyes, with my body, with my energy. I'm receiving you, and I'm not looking away. And, like, that for me is the honor that, like,
Yeah.
melts the shame away of, like, what you went through, what happened to you, this capital T or little t trauma, it doesn't make me look away from you because it's not you. It's, like,
Right.
not your fault. Yes, it's our responsibility now to deal with this, but it's not your fault. And so, like, I'm not gonna look away because there's nothing shameful here, and being seen and held in that, beautiful. But, like, how do you make that choice, and what is that, like, moment where you're like, "Okay, now we move. Now we shift. Now we move from this."
Normally, it's hmm, that's a really good question. So, I don't typically, the people that work with me are advanced, so I do wanna put that discretion out there.
Very
Like,
good call. Yeah.
from where I've started versus, like, where I am now are very different caliber of people.
Well,
I really
even
don't
our
let
containers. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
the difference in a container versus, like, an entry level container, we're talking about private one-on-one work a lot of times. We're talking about ceremonial level, ritual level, embodiment, somatic practice level, releasing level,
Yeah.
almost practitioner to practitioner, or you've worked in this space and you're not only aware of your stuff, but you've actively worked with it before. I think that's a
Yeah.
great like disclaimer for people to hear that this isn't like a, oh, I just found you on the internet and I wanted to do some like deep shadow work and like this is my first experience with like being held.
Yeah, and I typically don't work with those people just because my medicine is better served. But I know plenty of people that do that, but it's I don't really let people collapse anymore
Mm,
because there's a certain point where it's not beneficial. So
yeah,
it's even somatically, like a lot of times when my clients, because we're always going to have fear. When we're speaking our truth, there's
yeah.
going to be fear. We can do all of these practices, but at some point, like the action is moving forward. So I'll notice when someone's spine starts to crumble.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, yeah, feel it. Go really, really deep into it. Bring it so close to you. Now I want you to expand, get big. And it shows them, oh, like real time repatterning.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think eventually when you are in the level of like, okay, I understand all of these things, I've done a lot of deep shadow work.
Yeah.
Now it's time to start repatterning in real time. And so I even think too of sometimes there are different emotional states and different things that are patterned for example, we know as little children, we probably had to be really, really upset to get mom and dad's attention. So now it's almost like, oh, well, I have to like have some big cathartic giant thing for my audience to see me, for people in ceremony to see me. At some point, you're like, I don't want to lead from this space anymore.
Yeah.
So we go, okay, so can I give this sad girl a new job? Because right now she's
Mhm.
getting attention, but can we get attention from being joyful? And that's a conscious
Yeah.
choice that we get to make.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the distinction of also noticing, like, okay, the other thing too is I'm not trying to, like, push people to release emotions. I'm always telling them, like, I wanna give you a pathway for it to just open up.
Yeah.
And I think this has been a game changer too in my spaces. Just I work so much with rage. Rage is like rage actually brings me
Mhm.
joy to work with.
Yeah. Well,
Of
like, being
like
bottled up for so long, it does like, when you get to the point where you're like, "Oh, I have a process, I have a practice, I have a healthy way to release this," and the flexing of that muscle for a lot of us who have these connections with maybe, like, the more Kali Ma type deity where you're like, "No, like, I've in my life needed to burn it to the fucking ground
right.
to fertilize everything, to grow everything." Like, my natural and I find the divine feminine's natural state isn't just the like step by step, beautiful, magical, soft bath, fairy growth. I mean, that's definitely part of it and an aspect, but like
Yeah.
denying that there is this like deep destruction and rage and volume and aggression. Like, if you've ever seen a mother who has a child threatened, you will see a level of destruction and rage and pure fucking power that, like, I don't care what tank, what gun, what whatever you got. Like, I'm more scared of her because, like, the what comes through you is not just our human. And I think being able to channel that supports us in not getting those pipes kind of clogged, which causes the
Yeah.
problem in everyday life and like our human life.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. And it's recently when I've been working with grief and rage, especially in this season, I've been able to get myself more into the erotic realms.
Mm,
And I think that's not talked about enough of like
yeah,
eventually you start to get into this like I mean, to me, it's almost like I'm in the belly of the Dark Mother. Like,
yeah,
yeah, okay, this is part of the experience. It means nothing about me. How many different textures and flavors. And I think that's not talked about enough too when
yeah,
we can get a client where they're just going through emotional alchemy. You might go into disgust and then in pleasure and then back in grief and then rage and then peace. And it's like, because the
yeah.
feminine doesn't make sense.
It is the chaos, and so when we can provide the safe container, sometimes that you've never experienced,
Right.
or even for me at this level now, I'm like, the difference between me creating a container for myself and filling it, and having another priestess in particular holding a safe and sovereign container, whether or not she's guiding me or just holding the space, what I can do as it pertains
Right.
to emotional alchemy with those corners, those edges, those safe protections of being held, the chaos can fucking fill it. And when I let that, when you were talking about the moving between those, I saw the snake eating its own tail, but almost
Right.
in, the staircases that are never ending where it's like going up and down. I saw the snake eating its tail, but like in that optical illusion. And that's what out like emotional alchemy, very divine feminine, where it's not just the like light, but it is also the dark and you move back and forth. It is almost this optical illusion where like the third dimension doesn't get it, and that's okay. And it is the snake eating its fucking tail, and that's
Right.
okay. And like letting yourself roll through them. I would love for you to describe in specificity and detail to paint a picture for someone who's like, okay, I can see the stairs and I can see the snake, but like, how is that feeling and how is that moving? And like, what does that look like when it's the person and not just our like personification or interpretation or like metaphoric description of it? What does that look like
Yeah.
when the body, when the mind, when the being is going through that?
Well, for me, a lot of the ways that I teach somatics is I have like a wheel with different movements, different tones, because I kind of understand like no one's taught how to feel their feelings, and this is just like somatically what I've tracked in hundreds of people. Of
Yeah.
like, okay, so when there's grief, a lot of times there's going to be like a coming in and like an ow. So it's like pulling closer and like, mm. For me, a lot of the number one thing I notice when it's grief is like I kind of hold my neck almost like I'm
Mhm.
holding myself. And if we think of the back of the neck, it's also like where a compassion sits.
Mm.
So I even see it in ceremony when like there's a lot of energy, I'll feel myself kind of like holding the space of like this energy center is getting hit hard.
Yeah.
But what's fascinating, I always talk to clients about this of like grief being like pulling in close, like ow, intimacy is very similar. But intimacy
Mhm.
is more of a with your body, like how can I take the fingertips and like bring myself the most pleasure?
Mhm.
How can I bring things closer and in? And then when we move into anger, anger's gonna be well, it depends on the person too. There's times where it might be just be I'm having someone really give me some vocal toning in the womb and like hitting the floor with their hands. We might be stomping. They might need to throw a fit like back on the ground like a little kid.
Yeah.
And the other thing too that I always make sure with my clients, especially with anger and rage is I really want the body movies as much as possible. I want as much
Mhm.
nervous system feedback as I can. So a lot of times you'll see people just kind of like hit just like from the shoulder. I'm like, I want your whole back in it. Because we're
Yeah.
also setting boundaries. So it's going like, can I be like a little ninja? And like, since I do use a lot of sacred theater, a lot of
Mm.
times I'll give them like a character name. So
Okay.
like sometimes for anger or rage, I'm like, can you go full ninja on me right now? Like I
Mhm.
want it all. More, more,
Yeah.
more, more. Um, versus like sometimes when we're working with like pleasure or peace, I'm like, all right, Persephone just emerged back into spring from the underworld. You're walking
Mhm.
around, you're picking up flowers. So I do make everything that I do very cinematic just because
Yeah.
that's how my little brain works. But I do notice
Yeah.
that it gives people something to chew on
Mhm.
and it takes them out of the experience of the story
Yeah.
because now
Yeah.
they're just this little character like emerging in different
Mhm.
states.
This is reminding me of how Emily Fletcher, who teaches meditation, like one of my favorite meditation teachers, teaches the mind vehicle, the mantra, where you're talking about the character, the theatrics, the cinematics. Because we, as those of us living in a modern society, we are so comfortable and conditioned to like around TV and around movies and around characters in books. And so it's something that we deeply understand, and we have a Rolodex, a frame of reference for this, and it means so much when we say that character name, when we give that visualization, that it does become the mind vehicle where it's like, okay, mind, you can go over here and you can just attach to Persephone picking the flowers. And then my body and my energy and my being has so much space to expand and to play because the mind is over here attached to that vehicle. So I really resonate with that expression and that like way that you're painting that picture, and how you've taken who you are and your experience and how you've digested that, and then like interpreted that and embodied that and integrated that into your practice. And I think this is a great place to point out for those who are practitioners maybe stepping into priestesshood, those of us who are like medicine workers, whether that is like an actual plant medicine or a psychedelic or like a non-medicine, because I know many of us who know how to do the work of like, you are your own medicine and you can actually take your own medicine and sit with your own medicine. But like those who are developing this skill set, can you talk a little bit about how you've taken who you are and kind of chewed it up and then birthed it into your practice and let your practice evolve? Because I think yours, in comparison to a lot of the priestesses that I know, have a lot of really personal facets to not just how you're explaining it, but your actual methodology is so uniquely designed and is so like you. Like we can compare it to architecture. It's not that modern shit where you're like, okay, I don't even see anything beside like lines and planes. Very much like an art deco or a rococo or like pre-raphaelite that is so ornate and so unique, and the moment you see a tiny little bit of it, you're like, I know who that is. I know what that is.
100%. Yeah, I think when I started, I will share, like, I have so many different backgrounds and trainings, as I'm sure a lot of priestesses do. But a lot of what came forth too was the fact that I don't know, did like 3 years of daily past life regression, going into past lives and seeing like what my actual medicine was.
Wow.
And I mean, this was part of my initiation of like, I'm talking like 5 to 6 hours of shadow work a day
Whew. I'm like,
of
I just
just,
got sweaty. I'm like, oh my god, that's overwhelming.
of like,
That
it
is
was,
an
and
initiation.
it was, and people are like, did it have to be that way? And I'm someone that like my initiations were lots of near death experiences, and I really haven't, like 21 near death experiences.
Wow.
So at this point, I think the other thing that gave me the confidence to birth my own method is like, I have died for this. Like, I am
Right.
going to bring this to the world and not just like metaphorical, like actually. And so every time I would see just almost like I could get people in these psychedelic states through movement that would connect them back to just ecstatic love. And I'm like,
Mm.
okay. So then I started to think about, how could I make this bigger? So one thing that has really been a game changer for me is I did study functional neurology when I went
Mm.
through paralysis and a spinal cord injury. So I really deeply understood how the facets of the brain work and like how I could get someone in a psychedelic state. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. There's different eye movements, different things. But then I started to realize too, okay, what are styles and fashions I like? And how can I create that in the experience? And then how can I also add the fact that I used to be a metal singer and like all
Mm.
of these things and like bring it in? And how can we also add athletics? And how can we add animals? And how can we? So it was almost like, let me just take everything that I've ever experienced from this lifetime, for past lifetimes, and I want to bridge it together, but through the body.
Yeah.
Because I just found that the biggest thing for me, because I had shamanic illness for so long, is to me, it was like the psychic gifts opened up. So I had that clairvoyance, that clairaudience. I could talk to my guides, but I did not feel the divine. And to me, I was
Uh,
like, I do not care what I can see, learn, anything if I can't feel it. Like, this means nothing to me.
Oh my god. Do you and so I'm assuming that at this point you understand why there was a separation between feeling and yet you had the, like, technical opening of the gifts. I've gotta hear about that.
So to me, I think this is kind of how when I started teaching somatics and like adding in my psychic lens, I would see that like people, like their emotional body was like torn away from the rest of them.
Yeah.
And so they're doing a lot of good work. They are, but something's not integrating. And I would almost see these like fabrications of walls where like for me, a lot of times I would feel something and people thought it was fake. And I
Mm.
was like, "What is happening?" It would create this isolation, and then it would create more story. So it
Yeah.
was really about how can I use my psychic gifts, my priestess gifts, as well as, like, my understanding of, like, human needs,
Yeah.
and allow this to integrate. So for me, and I have talked about this in other podcasts, I got called to sit with ayahuasca, and when I did go sit with ayahuasca, it opened up my gifts, like, way more than it should have. I mean, I think that that was just, like, part of it, but
Mhm.
it was people's first journey, they don't, like, die on the mat, and that was there was a naivety to it, there was also a
Mhm.
disbelief, there was a gaslighting, there was multiple things that were happening, but, like, when I look back on it, it was like, yeah, you were going through, like, death shaman initiation. Like,
Yeah.
that's exactly what was happening. So, I feel like since my body was just, like, so I just couldn't move well. Like, I
Yeah.
could barely take care of myself. The best thing I could do was explore the psyche, explore the soul
Mm.
from the kind of that past life regression standpoint, where it's
Yeah.
like, well, I'm already bedridden, so I guess I'm just gonna, like, go into all these past lives and see what's really happening and go into the ancestral karma and go into so I've had a hard time feeling like I had a choice on this path. A lot of it has
Yeah.
felt like what do you mean? I have to do this, otherwise I'm gonna die again. There so
Yeah.
there have been and I think too during this process, like I know the feeling of the near death experience so well that there would be mornings I would wake up and feel it and go like, "Oh no," and like have to immediately like go sit with my guides and be like,
Yeah, I'm close.
"It's something. What is
Yeah.
happening?" And they would like bring me to another imprint that was ready to be purged. But the alchemy that I can speak to, because I know that this can be like a lot for people, is
Yeah.
how beautiful the death process is. And
Mm.
that's something that like I am so amped to restore in the
Yeah.
world of can we honor the death process? Can we understand that like with death comes life? And I think it's gorgeous when we allow ourselves to see it from that different lens.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I think part of going through that was like having to see the way that I've been programmed to fear death.
Mhm. Yeah, we do not our society does not have a reverence for it. We have a, like, avoidance of it and a fear around it, and when you have avoidance and fear, the idea of it being sacred is so, like, dogmatic almost, like, oh, like, churchy, of like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, reverence like that," where, like, we go on Christmas or we do this special thing, but not an embodied reverence. I wanna put a pin in the death aspect because I do wanna come back to the ayahuasca experience. So you're saying you were called to ayahuasca, and yet when you sat, it was this, like, massive thing. I'm curious if the "I can't really move my body" was a part before, or if that was, like, because of the ayahuasca? Did you I have so many questions here. I'm like, "Oh my god." Did you feel like the call was true? Did you feel like you second guessed the call afterwards? Do you at any point wish that, like, you hadn't sat with the medicine? Was it something about, like, who you sat with or the safety in the setting? Was it about integration? I'm like, I I want so much more.
Yeah.
'Cause, like
So, before ayahuasca, I was paralyzed. I got myself to walking. Um, that was just an awful experience, point blank. I lost everything
yeah.
when that happened. And so once I got myself walking again, And for me, I just studied neurology. I just studied neurology and I kept trying things. And once I got to walking again, I was still really sick and I was just like meditating and ayahuasca just kept coming in. And every time I went to sleep, ayahuasca was there. And so it was like a year of this, of
Wow.
like, I didn't even know what ayahuasca was. It took me 8 months to figure out what it was. I would just let her be in my dreams. I would just talk to her in meditation, but like I was like, I don't know. I just have this spirit guide, ayahuasca. And
Mm.
finally, I was
Like,
somewhere and they
sell
were
it,
like,
sell it. Yeah.
I was somewhere and a girl I had met was telling me about her experience. And at that time, I also understood that I never once thought that any of my illness was like something that needed to be healed. I knew that what I was going through was like spiritual awakening. And
Mm.
so it happened to
Wow.
me
Where
really
did you know that?
early. Yeah, it happened to
Yeah.
me really early, like 19 in college.
Wow. Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So eventually I didn't drink ayahuasca until I was 23.
Still very young. Wow.
And the place that I went, I'm really, really happy they're shut down. It is dangerous.
Was it in Florida?
Yep. A lot of those places have been shut down. They are some of the most dangerous. To this day, I'm still extremely angry at the way
Yeah.
that they hold space.
Is
They
it
are,
a now I wanna know which one, like, we don't have to say it on here, I'm definitely gonna ask you off of this.
yeah.
But is it a recent shutdown? Like, a recent legal shutdown? Or
Mm,
was it a while ago? I'm, like, probing.
well, there have been some of the places I've been are recent and
Okay, you've
some of
been
them are
through.
older.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it was, yeah, I mean, when I talk about my ayahuasca journey, I was like, show me the truth. And all she did was show me malevolent spirits, and all of the facilitators were malevolent spirits. And little
Mm.
me gaslights herself. And was like, and it was all real.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was part of my priestess initiation was even understanding like I was buried from those experiences, buried under spirits, buried under other people's trauma, buried in shadow, like soul shattered. When I finally got to like the deepest layer of like my aura shattered, which I felt all the time. It's just, it took me so long to, because it was almost like when I was sitting in ceremony, I remember one, we can just say that like right now, this isn't right. There was like 65 women in ceremony with me,
Wow. Oh my god. I
sitting
can't
2 inches
imagine.
apart.
I can't imagine.
And as someone who understands that I have reaping gifts, what do you think happened? Everything just went. So like, my
Wow.
soul is like, uh-uh. But
That's just not safe, and, like, these
I could,
big churches and these big, I'm sure there are probably areas, where, down in Central and South America where they do sit in larger numbers, like, a larger number of the tribes sits together, but these are cultures that have been steeped in this medicine for so long. I think the bringing of it to America and the not adapting it, and in addition, of course, like, who is leading? Who is holding the container? Is there safety? Is there integrity? Who's making that medicine? Like, all of those pieces, when you're at that
yeah.
size, like, I just personally don't think it's possible to hold safety and integrity at that size, even if we're, like, taking out that, like, oh, if the leader is fucked up, like, that's a problem in and of even if you had an integrous leader, 60 fucking people?
Yeah.
That clo that no. I'm like, when I sit and there's more than, like, 2 of us and they're not, like, my close friends who I, like, know, like, it's one thing when it's my partner and, like, my mentee over here, and I'm led by my ceremony in this safe container with I can't imagine sitting with 60 people. Like,
Yeah.
my brain and my body are just like, don't even go to the picturing of it." Like, my body won't even let me feel what that could potentially feel because it's like, "Nah, girl, that's not for you."
So it's
Wow.
Well, and I every time I tell my story, it does resonate with people. Like, I just want them to understand that, like, I went somewhere to heal my trauma and was the most traumatized I'd ever been.
And that is a big thing that is being talked about, and, like, I am a lover, a devotee of plant medicine, and
Yeah,
yet the way that it is led, the way that it is held, the way that it is offered, I understand why so many people are so against it now because it is not being honored. It is not a sacred experience, and so many people have the same story that you have, not the same story, but the, like, "I went in to support myself. I desired for healing, for wholeness, for, like, this meeting of the divine, this, like, putting pieces back together, this self-reflection, and I came out decimated."
yeah. And man, it's been so tricky. So I personally like the other thing that people need to take into consideration, and probably because I do a lot of grid work, like the ley lines we were on were not appropriate for plant medicine either. There's so much that goes into holding a sacred
Yeah,
space, and I don't think it's talked about enough of like what it truly means to be a space holder. Yeah.
yeah.
And I know you're down with
Let's
this
talk
because it's
about it.
like,
Let's talk about it right now. Because, like,
yeah,
even in episode 1 of this podcast, I was talking to my close friend and interdimensional priestess, Kelsey Isis, who I'm on the board of her temple, and we were talking about the difference between holding a safe space and actually being able to bilocate your energy and get in the space and guide someone while holding the safe space the entire time. So, like, when we're talking about holding safe space, guys, we're not just talking about we did a smoke cleanse and we, like, dropped a grounding cord and we, like, pictured the flower of life around us. Like, no, like, that's not what we mean when we're saying, like, we hold safe space. So, like, I do want to get into, like, the nitty gritty of it because people aren't talking about that. And I think that is something that, like, those of us at this level, we have a responsibility to do more of,
yeah,
because especially those who are, like, moving into this as not, I don't like the term, like, young or baby or, like, newbie, but just, like, you are remembering
hmm,
right now, and it's like it is the start of this remembrance. Like, you have it inside yourself, but if it's always been shut down and shoved down and closed off, or, like, for me, it wasn't safe when I was little, I had to, like, shove it down,
right,
lock it down, get rid of it, that, like, as you're starting to unfold, and like you've expressed, sometimes you open up too quickly because you don't have the support, you don't have the education, you don't have the container. I want people to understand the difference between being able to clear or cleanse a space that doesn't have anything really in it besides stagnation, or besides, like, oh, a couple people have lived in this house, versus, like, you're saying, the understanding of ley lines, the holding of a container, the holding of a moving container, not just in the four corners of this specific room, but we might go outside to a fire, we might do that,
right,
or, like, what happens when someone brings something into this that was stored inside them, that,
right.
like, we did it, but now it's contained in here. How do we deal with that? So, like, maybe pick a few of them, because, like, we could do an entire episode on that, but, like, give us some practicality as it pertains. Paint us a picture of what it means to hold safe space.
Sure. So this is my personal opinion. I think that everyone doing this work should have a deep connection to their spirit guides. I cannot hold the level of space that I need to hold without my spirit guides,
Yeah. My
and
human
not in
can't do it.
this.
Fuck
What'd you say?
no. My human
Yeah,
can't do it. She's like,
I'm like,
no, not me." Like, I think of the Little Giants quote, "You can't pitch to Johnny. I'm Johnny." Like, no, no, no. Human me is like, no, 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 not me, not me. Like, it's gotta be, it's gotta be the pantheon. It's gotta be all of it. It's gotta be the whole
right,
cabinet. Yeah.
right. So I think too, I work with a lot of dark masculine guides because I understand what I'm touching in my spaces, and so, like, immediately for me, I'm setting up, like, a fire protection with my guides, like a dome for me, and then another one for the space and another one outside
Mm,
of that, as well
yeah.
as, like, from my own lineage, like, there's different runes that I like to use. There's also a lot of what I set up is like in the astral, but I think any priestesses in this work understand that of like, I have things set up if entities enter the space. I
Yeah.
have things set up if curses enter the space. I already, it's making sure this is all up, but it's also speaking with a lot of the ceremonies I do are archetypal or
Yeah.
concepts. So, like, I'm going to speak to whoever I'm working with. Is there certain things that I need to bring to this space? Is there a certain scent, a certain candle? Really immersing myself in that, honoring whatever lineage. Like, if we're doing an Isis ceremony, I'm going to go sit with Isis and go, all right, prep me. Like,
Yeah.
really prep me. Let me
Yeah.
know what needs to happen here.
Yeah.
The other thing, too, is since clairsentience is like my main gift.
Mm,
I know when the energy is coming like really high up and like I need to get their bodies bringing it back down.
mm,
And so I think too, everyone's going to have like a different way that they do this. But if something's getting like really giddy and really high, sometimes we can start to get into psychosis era.
yeah.
Not in a like people are doing anything wrong. It's just like
Yeah.
we need to manage the frequency. So like I might
Right.
bring them back down to the earth and
Yeah.
have the tone get lower. I even for me too, the frequency of the music that I use. I
Yeah.
know when I need to
Yeah.
change a song.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cause
Yeah.
some shamanic drums, you're like, whoa, we're
Yeah.
purging and it's deep. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, bring
And
it back.
you have to be respectful of the individual's nervous system and body. It's like my etheric, my cosmic, my astral, my up here layers are like, yeah, go baby. And my human's like, hang on, can I have a little help here? Like, and so being able to witness all of those pieces and holding safe space is honoring the totality and being considerate of the integration and embodiment. It's not just, oh, how massive of an experience can we have? And I think that goes back to what you were talking about before of like, a lot of times we're encouraged to make these bigger expressions, to have it look bigger, look, you know what I mean? Like very expressive, very intense. But what it looks like is not what matters. What it
Right.
is, what it feels like, what you can hold, where you are in your journey, and what like your truly your human nervous system, like where's the bottleneck? It's my human all the time. And so I'm like, okay, we like the wolf pack, we gotta check in with the old ones. Like, how slow do you guys need to go? How many breaks do you guys need to take? And like my human is now so capable of like sharing what it is that she needs, especially in ceremony or in practice, where I'm like, I need these like 8 things. Like, I can't tell you how many times in ceremony I'm just like, Chakapra, Chaka. And I'm like, someone needs to smack me with some leaves right now. Like, it's what I needed here. I need it here. I need it here. Like, if there's not crunchy leaves on top of me at the end of ceremony, like, I'm not good. Like, I'm like, I need more I'm like, "Can you just leave it next to me and I'll whack myself?" So I have, like, a little stand that they'll put next to me so that they can literally rest the chakapra next to me because 'cause I'm just like, "I need it now." And, like, I say it like this little old lady, I'm like, "Chakapra, please." Because 'Cause I'm like,
I'm
my human
obsessed.
is like, I'm feeling it coming up, and to actually release it, to actually move it beyond not just my body, I'm like, okay, number 1 chakra gets it into the auric field, and then each of the subsequent chakras get it through the layers of the auric field, and then once it's
Yeah.
out, then all of a sudden I have the, like, then I can come back to my sound and, like, get rid of it and push it out, but
I know what
when
you
it's
mean.
sticky and stuck in my human, I'm like, "I need some help, guys."
I'm like Mapacho
Yeah.
immediately. Like
Oh my
immediate
god.
I notice in spaces a lot of times I'm the anchor. So like
Mhm.
when I'm ungrounded, I'm like, oh no. Oh no.
Yeah.
Someone.
Yeah.
But
Not in
it's
Kansas anymore. Yeah. Yes.
like
Yes, yes,
like
yes.
Mapacho now. I
Yeah.
will be fine
Oh,
after this. Like
yes.
um
Ugh.
and even it's so funny. I recently started like letting myself bring a snack in ceremony.
Yeah.
'Cause I just, like, I know that, like, my back will start screaming because 'cause I'm really hungry from all the energy I'm moving, and I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, okay, modern day priestess, why don't you just bring something
Right,
and, like,
right.
feed yourself
Mhm. Yeah, and
instead of suffer.
as womb holders, what we need, and as priestesses, and especially growing up in a space where, like, priestess is not associated like, women are not we're not taught and told and shown. We don't have the examples a lot of times growing up that, like, holy representative, spiritually guided leader in that way is like it's not for the woman. And so like even the education around how to hold space and how to lead and how to do this doesn't honor the womb. And so like our cycles are different and what we need is different and how we move things is different. Like when we are running that much chaos through the body, my metabolism is like a 13-year-old boy who's like, I'm going to be the best little insert sports nerd, parkour, ninja warrior, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that is not my normal metabolism. But like when I'm in that container, I'm like, I eat 3 to 5 times what I would normally eat, even when I'm
Right,
doing the long fasts for ceremony sits. And I'm just
right.
like, okay, I've got 2 hours to eat, and I just ate more than I did in the past week. The fuck?
No,
It's
that's
nuts.
huge for me too. If I I guess because I've been I don't feel like I ever really leave, like, the destroyer mode. Like, that's just I'm kind of always there. I'm very much like priestess of the flame, like,
Yeah,
burn, destroy, and then also
yeah.
create.
I just saw
But
a sword that, like, lights up with the fire. I can't
that's
remember who had
exactly
that, but, like, literally the sword that lights up with the fire. I want to for my own personal curiosity and desire, entity clearing, and entity identification was something that I, like, shied away from for a long time. And I personally cleared an entity from myself recently, and I developed a new modality through that self clearing where now with clients, I'm able to create a container and take their entity and shove it outside of the container. So, not cutting the cord, not clearing it, not decimating it, not sword with the firing it, but actually like separating it, like their coat is stuck outside the door and that one little string is still inside, but like you can't put the coat on if it's stuck outside the door
yeah,
so that the individual can feel and can think and can be without it. And then as it starts to like weasel its way back in, you start to like see, oh, that one thought. See how that's different? See how that feels different? See the tonality, the density of that is different than you? It's separate from you. It's other than you.
yeah,
I would love to hear more about like your perspective on entities, those of us who are practitioners self-identifying that. If a client thinks they might have that, what to do about that, like entity in general, because as the elevation of our planet and like more of us are emerging, it's happening more often. The higher we go, the brighter we are, the more that is attracted to you. And so the like, oh, I'm just gonna like do my protections and like because I'm of the light and bright, like it can't get to me isn't cutting it for many
yeah,
people and is honestly putting quite a few people in unsafe spaces, very similar to unsafe ceremony spaces, because just not acknowledging it isn't enough.
yeah. Um, I mean, I'm like full exorcist, like high level with it. So with entities specifically, everyone has them. It's not like some moral ethic code, and most people have them from past lives when we were super magical and something went
Okay.
wrong. And
Mm,
so, I mean, it's like very normal for me to clear like 20 to 100 spirits off someone in one session.
wow.
And so, but it's I know what to look for, and it's also like
Yeah.
my natural gift to like
Yeah.
the thing that people don't understand about entities is and it does depend. Like my entity classification system is like very broad. Like I go into very specific. So like entity, vampire, wendigo, skinwalker, hags, bruxas. Like there's so many different types
Mhm.
because I understand too that like whatever piece of the shadow that they're hooking into, we need to close that door down in the shadow. So most of the time when I clear, cle- eh, in clearing, it depends. A lot of times I'm sending these beings back to where they want to go. That's just
Okay.
because I've gotten to we talk about it, I guess, like being released from them. Like at this
Mhm.
point, like I don't really have a lot of spirits to clear just because I put in so much work to get clear from them. But normally I wanna see, like, what aspect of the shadow are they hooking into, and with, like, low-level entities, it's, like, behavior change, like, thought pattern change, like, it's lower level stuff, but it does make a big impact for
Yeah.
someone.
Especially in
What
your human life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
they're very more, like because they are created from the collective unconscious. So, like, if someone has, like, a deep trauma that they've never addressed, like, a thought form entity can just, like, form, and it's gonna
Mhm.
give them problems when they start
Yeah.
addressing this stuff.
Do you think that entities only hook into, like, is your perspective that entities only hook into shadow low vibe aspects, or are you of the mindset perspective viewpoint that, like, entities can attach and do desire to attach to the light as well? That, like, I have found that, like, the higher I go up, the more, like, aligned with my soul blueprint, the bigger I'm being, that, like, there's a certain level of, "Ooh, I wanna, like, attach to that, I wanna siphon that, I wanna suppress that," because that is so against, what supports them, feeds them, where they want the vibration to go.
To me, when we get in that conversation, it's more vampires, which are different than entities.
Mm. The, like,
Um,
more siphoning coming out
because
and, like,
it's
eating.
Yeah, and normally too, what people don't understand is the higher they go, the more their field is purging. So, like, a lot of
Mm.
people, I don't really worry about something attaching to me in this life when I understand the other thing about vampires is it's boundaries. It's always boundaries. It's like, am I overextending myself? And I say that, but
As I
they're
hide, I'm
very
like, "Ooh, that
Yeah,
makes sense."
but what's
Oopsies.
and there's so much nuance in what I say too, because there's so many different types of vampires. Like, there are some that are, like, very, very dense and very, very dark, and you cannot clear them the same way that I clear, like, one when someone's like, "I'm seeing weird stuff in my third eye."
Yeah.
But normally, the best way I explain it, and this usually, like, clicks with people when I explain vampires, their heart space is inverted. So they feed off love
Mm.
because 'cause they're not connected to source anymore, that's why they're a vampire.
Mm. Yeah.
So, that's why a lot of times they can, like, hook in and, like, feed, 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 feed. Most of the time, we don't know about them too because they use glamour, meaning, like, it'll look like your aura is, like, white light until you're, like, really tired and you're like, "Let me see what's actually going on," and then you're like, "Oh." And it looks like a
Yeah.
lot of times they look like a Dracula, and sometimes too, they can dress up as your spirit guide and be like, give you something you want until it's not. So there's spiritual protection is massive for me.
Yeah.
But I also have been exploring it from the realm of if I'm a clear enough channel and I can address what the spirit is pressing on, the spirit has no choice but to leave. So
Mm.
I think there's multiple ways to approach it.
Yeah.
It also depends on like what you're stepping into. Like priestesses, I do think that this is like very much like one on one. You need to understand this. Not that you have to be like a full exorcist.
Yeah.
That was
But
just
at
part of
least,
my journey.
yeah, at
Yeah.
least how to create a container where, like, that's, like, the one similar to what I'm saying, where it's not allowed in right now. Whereas, like, with my consent-based, free will-based magics, that's, like, one of the core tenets for me, and so, like, I don't actually clear an entity for someone else. I will really facilitate you in that clearing, which is why I only do that for, like, high-level clients. That's not something that I would, like, teach in my membership, because I'm like,
Yeah.
I have rooted so much in this, like, consent, free will, like, autonomy, sovereignty, that, like, I need you to be doing your part, not just telling me, like, "Oh, yeah, clear it," because I feel like you, at least in my own work in magic and container, you can describe all you want, and yet there's still part of it that, like, I won't know or understand because of what my magic is, and so it has to be this, like, both of us thing. I can push it out so that you can, like, have a safe container for what work we're doing, but to actually, like, detach, get rid of,
I get what you're
transmute,
saying.
send somewhere else, like, that
I
is a
think
big piece for me because it's newer for me.
yeah, I don't touch it. Their guides touch it. I'm talking to their guides.
Mm. Okay. I
So, like,
love that. You're like, "I don't get near that fucking thing."
I'm like, I mean, like, and sometimes I've had to. Like, sometimes my soul has to step in and, like, do it if, like, we're not getting anywhere, but this is, like, high level stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah, even if I send someone a clearing to do on their own, they're, like, going into meditation with their guides.
Yeah.
So, like,
I love
that's yeah, and most of what I mean and I most of what I've been taught was just taught to me by, like, Hades. And so I just, like, had guides who would, like, step forward, and there were multiple times, like, Osiris was a really big guide for me when I'm like, "What is happening? What do I do with this?" And he had to, like,
Yeah.
show me multiple times how to
Mhm.
do
Yeah.
something. So that way, when it comes up in a client session, I'm like, "Oh, I know the ritual
Oh,
we need to do." But,
yeah.
like, I agree with you on that sovereignty piece because if someone kept coming to me, so I would like, I have a reaping gift, but I don't wanna use it all the time.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not it
Mhm.
doesn't feel aligned for me, but I
Mhm.
agree, and I think this is too what you're speaking to, especially that sovereignty piece with it. We want people to understand they can do this for themselves,
Yes.
as
Yeah.
well as ask for help if they really need it, but
Yeah. And like my work, it sits on the pillar of it can be faster, easier, more graceful, more systemic, more holistic together because it is like a newer skill or seeing my template, my methodology and then us adapting it to you, then the next time you're able to do that, just like you can learn things by going on YouTube and watching and just trial and error, but when you have a really sound teacher, you learn faster, easier, maybe with less scraped knees, bumped elbows, broken noses. And like that's what I think the true priestess is offering, especially in the modern day, where like we don't live the lives that we used to live, where you would come and, we'll use the Viking reference of like, ask me a question, lick my hand, let me give you
right.
a little thing here. And like it points you in the right direction because you know how to speak an oracle yourself. In modern day, we don't have that, and so it is very different right now to adapt what we've done in previous lives to this life in particular.
Yeah, and I think that's also why it's important to develop your own medicine.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
the modern medicine, because I fully understand that most of what I did in past lives was, like, resurrecting people. I don't expect anyone to bring me a dead body, you know what
Yeah,
I
you're like,
mean?
"The
Like,
necromancer has, like, we've retired her."
so I'm like, "Okay, but I can still do, like, resurrecting someone's radiance from a trauma." You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
I think too, it's like looking at these terms and adjusting them in the way that we need to, and also understanding that it's hard to go through initiations when we used to be in temples supported by each other, and
That's
now
why I'm
we
doing
are
this. That's why I'm
yeah,
doing this. Like, I've told so many people that, like, as a priestess, we don't have the water cooler talk. I don't finish with a ceremonier session and you finish at the same time, and we bump into each other in the corporate kitchen and go, "Oh, how was yours? How was your" and we, like, download a little bit, and we, like, share some of that, we help clear each other real quick, just like people in a corporate setting are going like, "Oh, yeah, let me take a look at that. Yeah, let's go to lunch and, like, brainstorm back and forth about that." Or we don't bump into each other heading out of the office going, "Oh, hey, why don't we just like go grab a drink or grab some dinner and like talk
right.
about what happened?" We don't get to like meet each other's partners at the Christmas party and build these relationships. We're not working side by side, sweeping the temple steps together, taking turns back and forth. Like, "Oh, you're going through your like absolute goo phase in the chrysalis. So like you don't have any duties for the next like week, month, years. I'll take over that and I'll focus on serving, the people that are coming in with these questions and then we'll switch." Like we don't have that anymore. And so this podcast, this movement, this like facet of my work that's not just the serving clients aspect, but like how do I serve myself in a way that does then serve my clients? Oh, it's being seen by other priestesses. It's
Yeah.
being in conversation with other priestesses. It's hearing your story and being expanded by your work and going, "Oh, that's something I wanna study, I wanna learn, I wanna get better at," or, "Oh, wow, I didn't know about that. I do need to develop my protections." Or the opposite of like, "Wow, that flavor is something I am never touching," and
Right.
it grounds you even further into your own, which develops your messaging and marketing, which, mind you, we didn't have to fucking do when we were in temples. I didn't have to know how to make a fucking WordPress or Squarespace or what happens when Stripe holds a big amount. Like, we didn't have to do any of that. I stood in the temple and I swept the steps and I did my devotion and I did a good job and I was here with my girlfriends and I was like given gifts. I was clothed, I was fed, I was loved. I had a fucking horse. There was flowers braided into my hair. It was wonderful. And now I'm
100%.
like, okay, I'm sitting in like a human room amongst humany stuff with like a camera and a microphone, and then I'm gonna have to like edit, and I'm like, this is so different than what it used to be. And to support me in that transition, to support us in that transition, I'm like using the internet, using technology to bring us together
Yeah.
feels like such a okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. EMF, I can deal with you if it means that I can be like brought together with more of us who before it would never have been possible to even like bump into each other because of space and distance and
Right.
lineage.
Right. Well, and
Yeah.
I think that kind of brings me to I definitely have like a different flavor of the change I want to see in the world, and I'm really into bridging like the sacred and the profane. Like I think it would just be epic for like a DJ to be an ordained priestess at a nightclub. I
Yeah.
think that it would be epic if celebrities were aware of this work and so their resonance would actually push out to it. Like that's me
Yeah.
going like
Yes.
big dreamer just because I go, okay, and you'll agree with this of like trying to find ceremony in every moment. Like
Yes.
even if I'm at the gas station,
Yes.
it sounds so silly, but like
Yes.
that's a lot of what our life is.
Yes.
And
Oh,
so,
my
yeah,
magical mentee said that to me maybe like a month or two ago where she was like, like, it's not stopping. Like, there's no, because I was teaching her, like, how to open and how to close and how to
yeah,
bookend and how to, like, contain, and then she was like, "Okay, I'm doing that for, like, my specific practices, but my life," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's time." So, you get to this point in this work where, like, priestess or practitioner or, like, you start maybe with, like, a Reiki attunement or, "Oh, I'm gonna learn this energy healer, and I'm gonna do this," and you're like, "I do this thing." When you become this I am this thing, it's very different than this is a modality that I have, a modality that I work, a modality that I do, something that like a tool that I use. This is who and what I am. The majority, and then you move into the like the totality, unless I'm falling out, is
right.
ceremony, is ritual,
Yeah,
is practice, and if I don't honor it as such, I deal with the ramifications of that, and it is both the most beautiful and sacred, and like you're saying, the profane and the, like, burden and the overwhelm of, like, "Wait, I have to have this reverence at the fucking gas station? I have to have this reverence at" my last fuck up one, I took my daughter to the eye doctor, and I did not hold my ceremony the whole time. Like, the 2 girls got the absolute fucking best of me, and I was just, like, upset and stressed out and overwhelmed, and I'm just like, "Fuck the medical model!" And, like, not in s like, not the holder of sacred space, not in the sacred
right,
space. Like, I
right.
was very much in the totality of my human, and I'm just like, "Wow, that was not it. Let's learn from that. Let's learn from that. That was a lesson? Okay. We're learning through opposition here."
Well, and I think it's like when I was going through my priestess initiations, I was living with like my karmic abuser.
Mm,
We were not together. I did
double
not like
whammy.
talking to him, but like financially, there was nowhere else for me to go.
Mhm.
And so it was the most intense compartmentalizing I've ever had. It was awful on my nervous system because
Yeah.
in the evening, I'm holding space for all these people. I'm leading ceremony. I'm in my dharma. I'm on fire. Like, this doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
And then I go to bed and I'm like, I can't believe I'm still here. And
Yeah.
the only reason I speak about it is because this is real. And I feel like there's like a lot of people who are ashamed to admit that.
Yeah.
But like I said, we're not in modern day temples.
Yep. Yep.
And it was also understanding too. It's like I'm working a part-time job. I'm running my mission. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And like, there was just nowhere else for me to go.
Mhm.
And so I think that, I mean, it definitely gives you like a level of edge as a priestess because I can tell how like that has really helped. If there's someone in my space that's just like not getting the process or they're like a little irritating or like one of their spirits
Mhm.
is like pressing on me, I'm like, we got
That's
this, you
that's
know?
nothing. You should meet my father. Like, that's nothing. I'm like, "I got it. You're nowhere near the Jackie poops, so, like, I got it." Like, I feel so ready and fortified. Like, it's
Yeah.
honestly something I've said to a vibrational being entity that entered a space at one time, and I, like, looked at it and I was just like, "You don't scare me. I grew up with Jack." And, like, it just, like, looked to me, and I was like, "I'm serious right now, like, you don't scare me. I grew up with the Jack. Like, cute, we're gonna work through that. Like, you can be over here in your little timeout chair, and, like, we'll deal with you when it's time, but, like, you don't spook me."
It is I mean, I don't know how many times like I would get scared in the forest when a spirit would approach me and I would be like, listen, the childhood I had, like, this is petty.
Yeah,
Goodbye.
yeah. I'm like, "Honestly, I feel safer in this dark forest than I did in my bedroom sometimes as a child, so, like, back up, give me some space. Do you need
It's
something?"
it's so
Yeah.
real. Oh.
Mhm. Mm. Oh,
Well, and
I love this.
I think too, it's like these are the conversations that modern priestesses need to have with one another because
Yes.
I get my head all the time about
Yeah.
I'm just shaping up to not be the priestess I thought I was gonna be, right? I thought I was
Um.
gonna hit this pivotal moment of being at such deep peace and wearing the flowy dress and sitting on the mountaintop, and I'm like, definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely, like, here to, like, raise hell in the most
Yeah.
divine way. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
I've had that same moment where, like, the archetype that you thought you were, like, gonna move into or the one that you thought was right, like, for me, it's the wide-brimmed hat with the, like, feather and the, like, really flowy outfit, this, like, very, like I wanna say Burning Man girl, but, like, I know that some people are gonna take that in, like, a bad way, and I don't mean it in a bad way. Like, I have a friend who is the embodiment of this version of, like, healer, priestess, magical worker, and,
I
like, I
take it in the
always
good way.
thought, "Oh, if I just keep, like, learning and getting better and, like, figure out, like, how to style myself a little bit better, I'll get there." And I'm just like, "No." Like, I'm never gonna be that, like, more whimsical, magical I say the Disney princess, like Anne Hathaway arms, like, my arms are not up the majority of the time, guys, like, they're just fucking not, like, they're in, like, middle finger like, the different middle fingers that I have, like, that is much more me, and this friend actually coined she was like, "Sweetie, you're more shamanatrix, like, part shaman, part dominatrix, not" and I was like, "You're so right." You're so right. That is definitely much more me of, like, there is a humanness to me that my priestess is more, like, real,
Yeah.
and it's funny because I don't feel very attached to my humanness, and yet my priestess is very corporeal in a way that a lot of other more, like, whimsical, ethereal priestesses are not, and I always thought that was the, like because we don't have like, oh, you grow up and you go to the ministry and you follow this and you learn a bunch of, and you go to the like convent and you meet all the different flavors and types. I'm just like, oh, that's like the one that blows up on Instagram. And at
Right.
some point, I'll get to the point where I'm going to blow up on Instagram. So I'll probably have the hat and there will probably be fringe. And like all of a sudden, I'll be whimsical and my arms will be up and the like rude fucking awakening of like, no, you are a sacred disruptor and a sacred illuminator, and anybody who doesn't want to look in the fucking mirror is going to hate you the moment they see you.
Right.
And I was like,
100%.
are you sure that one's mine? Can I get a different, like, I'm like,
Yeah.
can I Blockbuster and exchange my video, please?
100%. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I always make the reference of my whole life I've wanted to be like Florence and the Machine, and I am just always
Mm.
Lady Gaga. Always.
I feel you so deeply. I feel you so deeply. Like,
And
for instance, so with Florence in particular, I very much believe, and the first time that I saw her, like, in person, I was like, "Oh, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I believe this now." I believe that she is a water deity, like, she used to be a water deity,
oh,
and I
yeah.
remember being in the river, like, Maenad version for her, whatever she was at the time. I remember being in the river, like, devoting to this water goddess, and I'm just like, I am not that barefoot, whimsical like, I've been the devotee, I've been the Maenad for you, but I've never been the like, "Oh, barefoot flowing over it." So I deeply resonate with like, want Florence and the Machine? Definitely more Lady Gaga, who's like, "It's my job to have passionate, unprotected, raw sex with the art idea until I like birth." And I'm like, that tracks. This is why, like, when I first saw you online, and I do this frequently where I like that one little circle on Instagram, man, that gives me a fuck ton of information. I'm like, that person, that being, that's for me. I need
Oh,
some of that. And I was just like, I'm feeling a lot of like black sheep here, the like camaraderie in this. Where like I'm like, bah, come over here with me. Like I feel like we're gonna get each other. Like just the two in the back of the class in the dark colors, like getting straight A's, knowing everything, making fun
100%.
of so much. The girls with like the weird art project, and like the teacher being like, "Oh, you have to follow the." And I'm like, I have 112% in this class. I don't have to fucking follow the rubric if I don't want to follow the fucking rubric. If I want to sew through my dolly's eyes and, make a blah, 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 you're still going to have to give me an A because it's so much better effort wise than any of these other fuckers.
100%.
But like, yeah,
God.
tell me I have to follow the rubric.
Oh my god.
Okay. Yeah.
Well,
Mm.
and it was when you're black sheep too, it's like I'm not sad. I just really like to listen to System of a Down, okay? Like, this is just who I am.
Yeah.
I don't or, like, someone was like, "Once your nervous system regulates, you won't like metal anymore," and I'm like,
No.
"Dude, we're regulated, but I am going
There's
to headbang in this
I'm
moment."
like, the
Like
headbanging regulates me. You're not understanding. This is my safe space. This is
like,
my happy place. Yeah.
I just I said it with my friend that we were running our priestess training together, which I'll plug in here in a
Yeah.
second. Of
Yeah.
like, she's like, Rachel, you're just never gonna be the priestess like sitting in ceremony. Like you're gonna be in the back, like, and
Yes.
it's just like so
Yeah.
true.
Yes. Well, even so,
Um,
like, I channel music in ceremony, and the
yeah,
first time that I did that in a medicine ceremony that is not the like, my own medicines that, like, I serve and work with, and for preface, I wanna let people know that, like, not all medicines are psychedelic, just, let's start there.
right,
Um, but, like, the first time that I channeled and sang in a group that, like, I was not leading and, like, my mentor was there, after the ceremony, it was so cute. She was like she knew it was a big deal for me to like share that in this setting that's like not mine, where I'm not like tapped in, leading, like ground, like in the like I don't want to say bypass magic, but when you're in your and you've done all the thing that you're like, this is me at 110%. Whereas I was
yeah,
a little bit more human, like nerve vulnerability in this other one. And she like tells me how wonderful it was and how profound and this and that. And then at the end, she's like, but I do just want to let you know that like that kind of song, that type of song, what you were saying, like I wouldn't recommend. I was like, yeah, with other people, with like people who don't know me and aren't you? And she was like, exactly. And I'm like, yeah, what comes through me is not just the like the ocean is the beginning of the earth, or like, earth my body, water my blood. And I'm like, yeah, it's a little different what comes through me. And she was like, I love it. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. But like, be really particular with who. And I was like, I know. It's just because like this is my safe space. But even Bambi legged, I'm like, very much the like, I'll forever be a headbanger. Like, the moment I found Flyleaf, I was like, I could die a happy
Oh, yeah.
girl. Yes.
Well, and
Yes.
then
Yes.
it's interesting too, like when I run my super psychedelic ceremonies, like I'm DJing like a lot of like heavy, deep bass music, but like
Yeah.
I noticed like it really gets you
Trap.
in your bones. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like,
I
oh,
love trap and like deep bass rap and hip hop, but like it's got to be intentional. But like in ceremony, I'm so like,
right.
yeah, we're working with that because it fucking moves us.
And
Yes.
but I had this like weird thing where I was like, I was planning a ceremony for someone else's community and I was really excited to do it. And it was like a creatrix ceremony. So I
Yeah.
was like putting the playlist together and I was like, oh, like this is kind of heavy. And I was like, I hope they like, and then I
Right.
was like, is it dark enough? Is it too light? Like,
Yeah.
and then at the end, everyone was just like, that was
Whoa.
so cool. I've never done
Yeah.
anything. I was like, okay,
I feel like
good.
that should be the title of our memoir. I've never experienced anything like that. And we're like, yes, exactly.
The black sheeps are like, I was really obsessed with this when I was 14 and I'm finally gonna bring it to life.
And
Like,
now it all makes sense. Why? Because like I understood the medicine long before I understood the medicine. And now it's just like, tink, hi, I'm back. Put me in, coach. And I'm like, yes, yes.
I didn't understand that people didn't like feel music in their body, like to the point of like you'd be like lost in a song until like
Hmm.
a couple years ago when someone was like that I don't know what you're talking about. I'm
Oh my God, so much of that. Like from being little, I remember watching movies and like one of my favorite funny movies when I was young is this like Freddie Prinze Jr., Julia Stiles movie. And he talks about having a relationship with a spider where he's like, I talked to this spider and the spider became my friend. He was like going through his grief portal and like this death and rebirth. And he's like talking to his spider and they're like that's his only companion for a little bit. And it's like this cheesy rom-com movie. And that's the part that like really resonated with me. And I thought he seriously meant he was talking to the spider because, like, I
like,
talk to spiders. And then it wasn't until I was like 15 or 16 and a couple of my like friends like were like, oh, we should watch some like movies we used to watch. And like we put it on. I'm like, oh, I felt so, and I said something like nerdy, like I felt so seen when he was like talking about his spider friend. Like, it really allowed me. And I like went on this long ramp and they were all just like deadpan staring at me. And I was like, right? Right? No? No? I'm like, "You guys talk to your dogs, you talk to your cat with." "Oh, they don't talk back." "Oh, yeah, they don't talk back to me either." And it wasn't until, like, 15, 16 that I realized that, like, people weren't hearing what the animals and plants said. I was
oh,
like, okay,
I I can
so."
hear plants, but I still can't hear animals.
Oh my god, horses are my
Just
favorite animal, and I grew
oh,
up, like, pony was my 3rd word. I said, "No, mom, pony," and my mom was like, "And you just sat there for a really long time. You knew a lot of other words. You didn't need them because everything you wanted was covered by no, 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 no.
yeah,
Mom,
no.
mom, 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 pony, pony. Lindsay, where do you wanna go? Pony. What do you wanna do? Pony. What do you want? Pony. Pony, pony, pony." And finally, when she, like, took me to a stable, I literally climbed up while she's, like, talking to the woman in the office. I climbed up the fucking, like, little fence post and got on one. Pony. I was so happy. I was like, this is because their energy fields are so big. Their auric fields
They
are like
are.
5 times bigger than like a human's naturally. And so this like mind to mind, heart to heart, like all the different languages that I naturally perceived and understood that nobody else was me. I'm like, nobody's meeting me on this. The first time I was around a horse, I was like, you hear
Yeah.
me. You see me. You get me. Like I would say, come here from my heart and right
Oh,
here. They'd come right to me. And still now I'm like, I want to love you. Come here to me. And they just like, "Oh," like the Pied Piper. And I'm like, this is so nice. Somebody gets me here.
I love that.
Made me so happy. It was so comforting, especially I went to Catholic school forcefully until 8th grade and was like,
Woof.
kicked out of religion class very frequently because I had a lot of questions and I had a lot of perspectives. Family life, my fucking teacher hated me because they were teaching like pretty fucked up shit about like sex and sexuality and this and that. And I've been
Right.
polyamorous, pansexual, a fucking witch since like the OG days. My poor mom was getting a phone call so often being like, "Can you come get her?" No, just send her back to the classes that she actually needs grades in. Like, her religion class isn't gonna get her into high school, like, can you just keep her at the
Right.
office and send her back when it's math time? Like, I don't know what to tell you. Give her a book, give her a cookie, let her go back to the other class. It's like, "Sorry, mommy.
It's so,
Whoopsies." Mm,
I am like very grateful I didn't have I just went to well, I went to public school, but I it's funny what you just said kind of like resonated. So like 7th, 8th grade, I just went through everyone calling me a whore and being like
mm,
burn her at the stake. And I'm like,
yep.
I will say like I did not care about boys. I just wanted to play music. Like I just
Mm,
wanted
how
to play
beautiful.
music and lift weights. Nothing has really changed that. And so
I
I was
love
just
that.
like I'm like,
Yeah.
why are all these girls calling me a whore? And I had like pink hair and it was like cut
Like,
like
that's at the end of
Paramore.
my list, guys. Like, if you really knew me, you would see how fucking funny this is. Cause like, no. No.
But I
Yeah.
was like, it was definitely part of like the whole like Madonna holy horse split thing going
Yeah.
on. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this and then I mean, getting to yeah, I feel like grade school was just like a weird time. I was just would continue to do my thing. I got sent to the principal's office a lot for how dark my poetry was.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that. The first time I really wrote something and they were like, "We can't post this in the hallway. We need to talk to your parents. We might need it." And I was like, "Why? Like, I'm just talking about my life. That's what you told me to do."
Well, and then I remember like my art was always like these like silhouettes with barcodes, and they were like, what
Mm.
is this?" And I'm like,
You're
the
like, "We're
fact that we're
commodities."
trafficking souls.
Yes. Yeah.
And they're like,
Yeah.
huh? And they're like,
Yeah.
she's like dark. I'm like,
Yeah. No,
I
she's
just
aware. Yeah. I love that. So I definitely want to give you space to plug your new offering. And then I'm curious, would you like to offer a like protection practice or a getting into your own medicine, just like little guided thing as like a bonus for people? And I'll send that out to people who are on the list.
yeah, I would actually.
Okay. So
Okay.
tell us all about what you're currently doing and offering. And so if people are like, fucking need more of this, like any of you
Yeah.
other black sheep out there who have like, I found my tribe, how do they get
So
more of you?
I'm running well, we got two things going right now. So I'll start with like my own personal creation. I'm opening a occult wisdom and somatic dance mystery school. It
Mm,
is called Witch in Wonderland. Right now, it's private invitation, meaning like you reach out to me and you get a little letter. It's kind of like coming to Hogwarts is the
oh,
way that I've been running it, but I really
yeah.
wanted this to be like a intimate experience where I can build an actual tribe for the black sheep. Because
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of spiritual practitioners who are what I'll share about this project is it's to bring your body fully alive with your mission. I
Mm,
really want it to be playful and expressive and understand that like you're in a safe, energetic environment. We have monthly ceremonies, we have live calls, and I just want everyone to come and melt into who they truly are. And the
yeah.
story behind this was like kind of this just like grief portal of like, oh my God, I've spent the last 3 years, like, trying to remember who I am, like, my own personality from being in the spiritual space and being told I needed to, like, heal who I was away,
Yes.
and this, like, rage and anger of, like, I can't believe I'm just now doing the stuff that I love to do at, like, 14, and, like, that is your medicine. The stuff you loved at 7 is your medicine at 14, so I was like, if I could create a personal wonderland for people to come in and birth their childlike wonderland, their teenage visions, making grandma them proud.
Mm,
So it's a world builder. Like it's ready to actually be the architect of your
yeah.
reality. So that's what I'm really, really working deeply on. But the other thing that we're really working deeply on is my priestess training. So if you are someone who's been called to the priestess path, the lineage that we're working with is the Lightbringer lineage.
Mm.
This, if you think of the Lightbringer lineage, usually we plug in Lucifer, Anana, a bunch of these deities that understood that, like, yes, there is darkness, but like we're here to be beacons for the collective. And so right now we do have Sovereign Priestess Initiation open, and this is going to be a 4-week course where we're going to teach the core pillars of being a Sovereign Priestess. So they'll also get to experience my co-host, co-facilitator in this, Kate's medicine. And we priestess very different ways, but we're
Mhm.
very much yin and yang. And that's why it's
Mm.
so exciting to see us come together, because it still comes back to the same nitty gritty of like, we want people in touch with their bodies and in touch with their gifts and leading from their medicine. And we just haven't seen a priestess training like this. We
Yeah.
haven't seen one that covers energetic protection as well as somatics, as well as working with deities, as well as just so many different things. So that's what we have working on right now, and I'm really
Mm.
excited about it.
Mm.
So yeah.
I'll put all of the details in the show notes so you guys can have direct jumps to all of that.